We had a question from a viewer. He said, when you're commissioner, will you move the college football season so we can have football year-round? Well, we've got football year-round. They're playing football right now. I think the UFL is playing football right now. It's there. If you want it, it's there. I'm not so sure you want college football year-round. Now, I can meet you halfway. I definitely got proposals for making college football year-round in a way. I just don't necessarily know that we're going to be, watching a real-life college football game in March. Now, I did say a long time ago that I had a bold take that is so bold I wasn't ever ready to share it on air, and it has to do with this. Maybe I'll share it at the end of this segment. Maybe I'll share it. I still don't think it's ready for public consumption, but it's a Tuesday night in early April, so I may toss you guys a carrot here for tuning in. There's nothing wrong with a little scarcity. There's nothing wrong. It doesn't have to be year-round. College football doesn't have to be year-round. I've heard plans before of maybe moving the FCS to the spring, and there's pros and cons there, or maybe even moving G5 seasons to the spring. Here's the problem with that. Think about it logically. If we had the G5 playing in the spring, I'd watch. I'm not saying I wouldn't watch, but we're watching Tulane here. Okay, so if Tulane was gearing up to start the season the first week of February, I guess is when we started. Well, that would mean their preseason camp is January, right? They come out of Christmas break and they start what we would call fall camp. They would call winter camp, I guess. But the problem is, about that time, South Carolina's season is ending. Texas A&M season is ending. Arizona State's wrapping up. Well, where do you think they're going for portal additions? They're still going to the G5. And so Tulane could be sitting there week 2 of preseason camp, and all of a sudden their tailback says, I'm gone. Now, it's already bad enough that people bail on you after spring ball in the current landscape, but these would be people bailing on you in preseason. So I'm not sure I would want that. Here's what I can do, though. I can fill the calendar with college football-related events. For example, I have been a proponent and am continuing to be a proponent of delaying the schedule release for the upcoming season until late February of that year. And I used to think we'd get pushback from coaches on this, but when we were at Georgia 2 weeks ago, I tossed this to Kirby. I said, pretend, hypothetically, that you didn't get your schedule for that upcoming year until right before you open spring camp. Would that hurt you? He said, no, I don't care. The only thing it would affect is logistics. Like, we've got to plan travel, and people have to plan travel, and you got to book blocks in hotels and stuff like that. So, yeah, that may be tough operationally. But coaching-wise, I couldn't care less. We could get our schedule after spring ball, and I'd be okay. So we got that endorsement. So the coaching complaint part is out of the way. Here's what I'd love to do. I think it's stupid we don't do this. I'd love to have the NFL playoffs conclude, Super Bowl's wrapped up, go about another week, and late February, right before most people are opening spring camp, release the schedule for the upcoming year. It could be a multi-day event. Imagine that. Imagine you don't know anything. You probably know you're out of conference games, but I would argue you could have inter-conference partnerships where even your out-of-conference schedule is not set in stone. I know there's a lot of future schedules that are already planned out. Just scrap them, I guess, is my best answer to that. Because, I mean, some of you have scheduled games into the 2030s, which probably won't happen anyway, judging by what history has taught us. Scrap them all, and I just tell you what your schedule is. Let me cut in really quick and ask, look, prayer hands, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you think you're subscribed, check and make sure. Over 50% of you aren't. It's free, it doesn't sign you up for anything, and it helps us keep the show free, college football year-round, the way God intended it. All right, back to the clip. In late February, early March, I'd love that. I would also love to do what we've been talking about. I would love to give you the option to play a real spring game. So that gives me 2 really big events in the late winter, early spring portion of the year. But I'll tell you, I don't think I would try and artificially manufacture any big events in May or June. Like, once you get out of April and everyone's wrapped up for spring, you know that your media day season's kind of coming in July, and shortly thereafter, fall camp opens. May and June, look, you need to have a wedding? I'm doing it. Have it in May. You need to have a baby? You guys know how that stuff happens. If you don't, DM me. I'll talk to you more about it off air. But you can time it up. You can subtract 9 months from May and June. You pretty well know how that works. If you need to take a vacation, May and June, wonderful. If you need to do home repair, if you need to move, that's what May and June is for. And then you lock in mid-July. If the media day circuit is for you, if you don't enjoy talking, stay on the beach through July. But August, we're dialed in. We do this show year-round, so we don't ever really take a vacation. But the schedule release event, I would love to do that. I don't know why we don't do it that way. The NFL gets it. I don't know why we don't get that. And then also just allowing real spring games, allowing the option for it, that alone would sort of overhaul spring. Because right now what you have in the aggregate is you have people losing interest in spring because they know there's not that real spring game at the end of the tunnel. So why even get excited about spring? And also the SEC, where people disproportionately are more passionate about spring football, they had the audacity to go get good in basketball. So the attention has been fractured and it's been splintered in the SEC. It's aggravated me. This is not a basketball show. So I just assume Bama and Auburn not be in the Elite Eight. We can, block that out of the Birmingham and Montgomery market so they don't get mad. But I want to talk about spring football, and there hasn't been as big a market for it this spring.